The first thing I noticed was the smell, not dust, not mold, a clean, sharp chemical smell, like something had been wiped down, recently, which made no sense because the space behind my closet wall wasn't supposed to exist. I stood barefoot on the carpet, one hand gripping a hanger, the other pressed against the drywall, and when I pushed, the wall pushed back, not like a wall, like a door. My heart didn't race right away. It went quiet, that deep, instinctive quiet you get right before your brain admits you're in danger. Behind me, in the living room, my husband Daniel laughed at something on TV, totally unaware that the house we'd lived in for 3 years had a secret mouth, and it was about to open. I swallowed hard, slid my fingers along the edge of the baseboard and found it, a hairline seam, a hidden latch, and when I pulled, the panel released with the softest click, so soft I almost convinced myself I imagined it. But then cold air touched my face, air that didn't belong in a normal closet, air that smelled like bleach and metal. I should have closed it. I should have pretended I never found it, but I didn't, because I'm the kind of woman people underestimate, not because I'm weak, because I'm quiet. And quiet women notice everything. I opened the hidden door just enough to slip my phone flashlight inside, and the beam landed on something that made my throat lock, a child's shoe, one tiny sneaker, pale pink, stuffed into the corner like it had been thrown there. Next to it, zip ties, a roll of duct tape, and a clean white envelope with one word written on the front in block letters, evidence. My fingers went numb, my mouth opened, and no sound came out, not because I didn't want to scream, because my body decided screaming would get me killed, so I did what no one expects a scared woman to do. I closed the door silently. I stepped back. I turned off my flashlight, and I called 911 without saying a word, because I wasn't just scared anymore. I was certain whatever was behind that wall wasn't old, it wasn't forgotten, it was active, and the person who built it was in my house. My name is Ava Hart, I'm 36 years old, and before you ask, yes, it's the same Ava from the vibe of the channel, the woman who doesn't scream, the woman who waits, the woman who wins with proof. I work in compliance for a financial firm, which means my entire job is simple. I follow paper trails. I find patterns. I spot what doesn't belong, so when I tell you I knew something was wrong long before I found the hidden door, believe me, because the truth is, the door wasn't the first red flag. It was just the first one that finally showed its teeth. Daniel and I weren't a fairy tale, but we looked like one. We had the good house, the quiet neighborhood, the nice dinners with neighbors who smiled too hard, and the kind of marriage where everyone says, wow, you two are so solid, but solid doesn't always mean safe. Sometimes solid is just heavy, something sitting on your chest for years until you forget what breathing feels like. And I forgot, until the door reminded me I met Daniel at a charity gala my firm sponsored. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't the loudest man in the room. He was the one standing slightly away from the crowd, holding a drink he never touched, watching people like they were chess pieces. That should have warned me, but I was drawn to it, because after years of dealing with arrogant men who wanted attention, Daniel felt controlled, disciplined, safe. He asked me what I did, and when I said compliance, he smirked and said, so you're the person who ruins everyone's fun. I smiled and said, only if they're lying, and his eyes sharpened like he liked that answer. He worked in real estate development, but he spoke in a way that always sounded slightly legal, like he'd practiced explaining himself. We dated for a year, and he was perfect in the way quiet manipulators can be. Not love-bombing. Not overwhelming, just steady, present, predictable. And I mistook predictability for trust. When he proposed, he didn't do it with fireworks, he did it with paperwork, a simple ring, a simple speech, and a prenup folder on the table like it was romantic. He said, it's not because I don't trust you, it's because I've seen what money does to people, and I believed him, because I wanted to. We moved into the house on Hollow Ridge Lane 6 months after the wedding. It was older, charming, the kind of place that looked like it had stories in the walls. 2 floors, basement, attic, and a master bedroom with a walk-in closet that made me feel like we'd made it. Daniel loved that house too much. I didn't realize it at first, but he wasn't just proud. He was attached, like the house wasn't a purchase, like it was a plan. The first week we moved in, he did something that seemed thoughtful. He installed extra locks, extra cameras, extra security sensors. He said, I just want you safe. but then he was the only one who had the admin access. He said, "It's complicated. I'll set it up later." Later never came. And I let it slide, because the house was beautiful and I was tired and I wanted peace. That's how it starts. Not with fear. With fatigue. It happened on a Tuesday. I came home early because I had a migraine. The house was quiet. Too quiet. When I walked into the hallway, I noticed the closet door in our bedroom was slightly open. Just an inch. And I remember thinking, I closed that this morning. Daniel wasn't supposed to be home until 7. I stepped into the bedroom carefully, my shoes silent on the rug. And I heard something, a soft scrape, like wood sliding against wood, from inside my closet. I froze. I waited. Nothing. Then Daniel's voice came from downstairs, cheerful. "Hey, babe, you're home early." I exhaled like my lungs had been holding their breath for me. He appeared in the doorway, smiling, sleeves rolled up like a normal husband. "Everything okay?" I nodded. He kissed my forehead, and I almost believed it was nothing. Almost. But then I saw it. A thin white powder on his fingertips. Just a trace. Like drywall dust. I looked at his hands. He noticed. He wiped them on his jeans quickly and said, "Basement." There was a loose panel. I fixed it. He said it too fast. Like he'd already prepared the explanation. I should have checked the basement right then. But again, fatigue. I went to bed, and that night I dreamed of walls breathing. 3 weeks later, I was reorganizing the closet because I wanted to donate old clothes. Daniel was out meeting a contractor. I was alone, safe, or so I thought. I pulled boxes down from the top shelf. One box slipped. I caught it, and the corner scraped the wall. A dull, wrong sound. Not drywall, hollow. I stared at that spot. I knocked on it lightly, then harder, hollow. My heart started to beat faster now, because the closet wall backed into the outer side of the house. There shouldn't be empty space. Unless there was a crawl space, or a renovation, or something hidden. I crouched down, moved the shoes, and examined the baseboard. That's when I saw the seam. It was perfect. Too perfect. Someone had matched paint, matched texture, matched the tiny speckled pattern so well that even I, someone who notices details, had missed it for years. But now that I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I ran my fingers along the edge. My nail caught on something, a notch, a hidden latch. My stomach turned as if my body recognized the danger before my mind did. I should have stopped, but something inside me whispered, "If you don't look now, you'll never look." So I pulled. Click. The panel loosened. A thin strip of darkness appeared, and cold air rolled out like a breath. I turned on my phone flashlight. I opened it wider, and that's when I saw the pink sneaker, then the duct tape, then the zip ties, then the envelope. My skin went hot and cold at the same time. I leaned closer. The envelope was clean, too clean for a hidden space, and written on it in black marker, "Evidence." I didn't touch anything. I didn't step inside. I just stood there frozen, flashlight shaking, and my mind did the only thing it could do. It started building a timeline. Who installed this? When? Why? And most terrifying of all, why did it look maintained? Because there were no spiderwebs, no dust, no decay. It wasn't an old hiding place. It was used. Recently, my brain screamed, "Close IT," and I listened. I closed the panel silently. I put everything back exactly how it was. And then I walked out of the bedroom like my body belonged to someone else. My hands were shaking so badly I had to grip the counter. That's when I called 911, and I didn't speak. Because I didn't trust the air in my own house. Because if Daniel had cameras, he might have microphones too. So I opened the phone, pressed 911, held it to my ear, and stayed silent. The dispatcher answered, "911, what's your emergency?" I didn't speak, I just breathed, and I heard her tone shift. "Ma'am, are you in danger?" I whispered, barely moving my lips. "Yes, what's your address?" I gave it. Then she asked, "Who is with you?" And I looked at the living room. Empty, but not safe. I whispered, "My husband lives here. He's not home. Are you injured?" "No. Can you get outside?" That was the problem. To get outside, I'd have to pass the front hallway camera. If Daniel could see my phone, see me leaving, he'd know, and if he knew I found the door, I didn't want to imagine what he'd do. So I said, "I'm staying inside. Send police quietly." She paused. Then, "Okay, stay on the line with me." I stayed on the line. And that's when the front door lock clicked. My stomach dropped. because Daniel wasn't supposed to be home for another hour. Footsteps, keys, a man humming softly to himself like he had no idea my world was collapsing. Daniel, home, early. I ended the call, not because I wanted to, because I had to. If Daniel heard a dispatcher voice, it was over. So I hung up, and I slid my phone into my pocket like I'd never touched it. Daniel walked into the kitchen with grocery bags, smiling, normal. "Hey babe, I thought you'd be working late." I smiled back, forcing my face to act like nothing. I came home early. Migraine. He set the bags down and frowned, a little too concerned. "Oh no, did you take your meds?" His tone was sweet, but something about it felt like a check, like he was confirming I'd be drugged enough to not notice things. I kept my voice even. "I'm fine." He nodded slowly, watching me. Then he reached into one of the bags and pulled out a new box of herbal tea, a bright yellow lid on the thermos, and my stomach went icy because my brain flashed to a pattern, a story I'd heard before, a woman, a warning, tea, a trap. I kept my face blank. Daniel held the tea up. "I got this for you, for stress." I forced a small laugh. "You're sweet." He smiled, but his eyes didn't soften. He watched my hands, my posture, my breathing, like he was measuring whether I was suspicious. I reached out, took the box, and placed it gently on the counter like it was harmless. But in my mind, all I could see was the word evidence. Daniel kissed my cheek. "Why don't you lie down? I'll make you some tea." My throat tightened. "No," I said too quickly, then softened it. "I don't feel like tea." His smile stayed, but something flickered under it, a micro-expression, annoyance. Then he nodded. "Okay, soup then." He turned toward the stove, and my mind screamed, if the police don't arrive soon, I'm trapped in a house with a man who might have built a hidden room for something, or someone. So I did the only thing I could. I became the version of me Daniel trusted, the quiet wife, the tired woman, the harmless woman. I walked past him slowly. "I'm going to lie down," I said softly. He didn't stop me, but I felt his eyes follow me, all the way down the hall, all the way into the bedroom, like he was listening for the closet, like he could sense the door had been touched. I shut the bedroom door, locked it, and then I did something I'd never done before in my own home. I shoved my dresser in front of the door. My arms shook with the effort, my heart hammered, and then, a vibration, my phone, a text, unknown number, one sentence, "He knows you found it." My blood turned to ice. I stared at that message so hard my eyes blurred. Who sent it? How did they know? Was it a warning or a threat? And before I could answer, another text came in. "Do not open the envelope alone." Then, from the other side of the bedroom door, Daniel's voice, calm, soft, right against the wood. "Ava, open up. I just want to talk." I held my breath because I realized something horrifying. Daniel wasn't cooking soup. He wasn't watching TV. He was standing outside the bedroom like he'd done before, watching, waiting. And I didn't know what was worse, the hidden door behind my closet, or the fact that someone else was watching too. Daniel's voice was right there, soft, controlled, almost gentle. "Ava, open up. I just want to talk." I stood frozen behind the dresser, my hands pressed against the wood like I could push the fear back through it. My mind kept replaying that text. "He knows you found it." I swallowed hard. I forced myself to speak casually, like I wasn't holding my breath like a hostage. "I'm not feeling well, Daniel." Silence, then the smallest laugh, not amused, not warm, just a quiet sound like he was testing something. "Okay, then I'll just leave this right here." I heard something slide against the carpet, a paper, then footsteps, walking away, slowly, on purpose, like he wanted me to feel safe again, but I didn't move. I waited, 10 seconds, 20, 30, until I finally heard him go downstairs. Then I slid the dresser back just enough to crack the door open. On the floor, right outside, was a single manila folder, no logo, no name. Just one word written across the front in thick black ink. "Ava." My stomach turned. I whispered to myself, barely audible, "What are you doing?" I pulled the folder in, locked the door again, and backed away like it could bite. Then my eyes snapped to my phone. I needed to call 911 again. But before I could, my screen lit up, unknown number, do not confront him. The cops are already on the way. I stared at it, my fingers trembled. I typed, Who are you? No reply, just 3 dots. Then, someone who survived him. I felt my skin go cold. I didn't open the folder yet. I couldn't. Not when Daniel was still downstairs. Not when I didn't know what he was capable of. So I did what my job trained me to do. I observed the pattern. Daniel didn't yell. He didn't bang on the door. He didn't act guilty. He did something worse. He acted normal. From downstairs, I heard him turn the TV on. A cooking show. A knife tapping a cutting board. The sound of a pot lid. He was performing calmness. Like he wanted me to think, see? Nothing is wrong. But then, another sound, a soft beep, a device alert. My stomach dropped, because it sounded like a security system keypad, and then his voice, still calm, floating up the stairs. Babe, I'm going to run out for a second. I forgot something in the car. Run out? No. He was creating distance. He was creating opportunity to do something without me seeing, and I realized with a sick twist of clarity, he wasn't afraid of me. He was managing me. Then the front door opened, closed, and the house went quiet, too quiet. I rushed to the window, peeking through the blinds. Daniel was walking toward his car, but he wasn't grabbing anything. He stood there, hands in his pockets, looking at the house like he was waiting for something, for me to do something, to panic, to run, to open the hidden closet door again. I didn't. I waited, and that's when I heard the sound that made my blood turn to ice, a faint click, coming from inside the bedroom closet. Not the latch, something else, like a mechanism, like a lock, resetting. I snapped my eyes to the closet, and for the first time, I saw something I hadn't noticed before, a tiny black dot on the upper corner of the closet shelf, so small it looked like a screw, but it wasn't. It was a lens, a camera, watching the closet, watching the wall, watching the door, watching me. My hands flew to my mouth. I backed away, and I understood why Daniel didn't need to threaten me, because I was already being watched. I heard the faintest sound outside, not a siren, not a loud knock, just a soft tap on the front door, 3 quick knocks, then silence. I rushed to the window again, and I saw them, 2 police officers standing slightly to the side of the door, not in the center, not exposed, like they were trained for a dangerous situation. One of them lifted his hand slightly, a gesture, stay calm. My chest tightened with relief. I ran downstairs, unlocked the door, and opened it quickly. The officer's eyes scanned behind me immediately. Ma'am, are you Ava Hart? I nodded, yes. His voice was low, serious. We received a silent call, and then a dropped call from this address. I swallowed. I didn't want him to hear. The other officer, female, stepped closer. Who's him? I hesitated, then forced myself. My husband. She looked past me into the house. Is he here now? I shook my head fast. He just left. He's outside, near his car. The male officer's jaw tightened. Do you have somewhere safe to wait? I nodded automatically. Then I remembered. There was no safe place. Not inside the house, not with cameras, not with a hidden door. So I whispered, I found something. The female officer's face sharpened. What did you find? I leaned in and said the words that sounded insane the second they left my mouth. A hidden door behind my closet wall. Silence. Then the male officer said, show us. We moved through the house quietly. They didn't stomp. They didn't call out. They didn't act like this was nothing. And that told me everything. Because if trained officers go quiet, they've seen this kind of thing before. We entered the bedroom. The female officer noticed the dresser. Why is this in front of the door? I didn't answer. My voice cracked, because he stood outside the door and asked me to open. The officers exchanged a look. Then the male officer spoke into his radio softly. Unit 12, we have possible domestic threat and hidden compartment. Suspect may still be on property. My throat went dry. He turned to me. Show me the closet. I walked to the closet. My hands shook so badly I could barely grip the hanger rod. The female officer stood behind me, her hand hovering near her weapon. Take your time. I found the latch again, pulled, click. The panel opened, cold air poured out. The smell hit us harder this time. Bleach, metal, plastic. The male officer turned on his flashlight. He opened the panel wider, and we all saw it. A narrow passage, not a crawl space. A corridor. Finished walls, clean floor, a hidden room, built with intent. The officer stepped in, slow, sweeping left and right with his light, and then he stopped. His light landed on something on the wall, a corkboard, with photos pinned to it, dozens of them, women, different ages, different hair, different places. But the same pattern in every photo. Each woman was photographed from a distance, like someone was watching them. And in the center of the board, my face, a photo of me walking into my office building 2 weeks ago. I whispered, "Oh my God." The female officer muttered under her breath, "Jesus." The male officer leaned closer, reading notes under the photos, handwritten, in Daniel's handwriting. Under mine it said, "Ava Hart, compliant, quiet, predictable." I felt like I couldn't breathe because that wasn't a husband describing a wife. That was a predator describing a target. The female officer stepped back out of the hidden passage. "Ava, you said he left you something?" I nodded. The folder was still on my bed. I picked it up with both hands, like a bomb. The male officer put on gloves and opened it carefully. Inside were documents, printouts, medical papers, bank transfers, property forms, and on the top page, a typed statement with a blank signature line, "Power of attorney, full authorization." I felt dizzy. The officer flipped through quickly, and then he stopped. Because there was one page in the middle that didn't look like legal paperwork. It was a screenshot. A video still, from my closet camera. Me opening the hidden door, me leaning in, me discovering the evidence. Daniel had recorded me. He had proof that I found it, and he wanted me to know. Under the screenshot were 4 words, typed, clean, "You shouldn't have looked." My knees almost gave out. The female officer caught my arm. "You're okay, stay with me." But I wasn't okay, because now I understood the folder wasn't a threat. It was a message that said, "I know you know." And then the male officer pulled out the last thing in the folder, a small white envelope, the same style as the one inside the hidden room. On the front, in black marker, evidence. The officer looked at me. "Did you touch this earlier?" I shook my head. No. He opened it carefully. Inside was a single key, a tiny storage unit key, and a receipt, a monthly payment confirmation for a unit rented under the name Daniel Cross, not Daniel Hart, Cross. My stomach dropped because that name didn't belong to my husband, or at least it wasn't supposed to. Suddenly, a car door slammed outside. The officers froze. The male officer whispered, "He's back." The female officer pulled me behind her. My heart pounded so loud I thought he would hear it through the walls. Footsteps up the porch, keys, and then the front door knob turned. Locked. Daniel tried again. Locked. Silence. Then his voice, calm, too calm. "Ava." No answer. "Ava, why is the door locked?" Still no answer. Then his tone changed. Not anger. Something colder. "Open it." The male officer whispered into his radio. "Suspect at front door." Daniel knocked again. Harder. "Open IT." And then his voice softened back into that sweet mask. "Ava, baby, I'm sorry." I swallowed a sob. He knew the police were here. Somehow he knew, because the house was full of cameras, and he didn't sound surprised. He sounded prepared. The male officer stepped into the hallway where Daniel couldn't see him, then called out firmly, "Daniel Hart?" "Police." "Step away from the door." Silence. Then Daniel laughed, a single small laugh, as if the police were an inconvenience. "Officer, I live here." The officer replied, "Step outside." Another pause. Then I heard the sound that made my blood run cold. A click. Metal. A lock being opened. From the outside. But not the front door. No, it came from the side of the house. From the garage entrance. Daniel wasn't at the front door anymore. He was inside. The female officer grabbed my arm and pulled me back toward the bedroom. "Move." Now, the male officer rushed toward the stairs, gun drawn. "Daniel, show me your hands." And then Daniel's voice came from the hallway, right behind us, soft, close, too close. "You just couldn't stop, could you?" My entire body went cold because the police were in the house, and Daniel was still moving like a man who owned it, like he had exits, like he had plans, like he had done this before. And I realized something terrifying. That hidden door wasn't just a room, it was a system, and I was standing inside it. Daniel was in the hallway. No rush, no sweat, no panic. He appeared like he'd just come back from the grocery store, phone in one hand, keys in the other, too calm, too controlled. And that's when I understood what this really was. He wasn't coming home. He was testing me, testing my reactions, testing how far I would go, testing if I would break. The officer aimed his weapon. "Daniel, hands where I can see them." Daniel raised his hands slowly, but he didn't look at the officer. He looked straight at me, and he said softly, almost intimately, "Ava, I told you not to touch anything." My entire body started shaking. The female officer stepped in front of me. "Sir, turn around. Now." Daniel sighed like he was exhausted. "You're overreacting." The male officer snapped again, louder, "Now." Daniel turned, and when he lifted his hands behind his back, his jacket sleeves slid up for half a second. Just 1 second, but I saw it. A symbol, a small tattoo on his wrist, geometric, clean lines. My stomach dropped because I recognized it, not from memory, but because I had seen it inside the secret room. That same symbol was printed on a folder near the photo wall, like a stamp, like a seal, like a signature of something bigger than Daniel. He wasn't just hiding a room, he was part of a system. The officer cuffed him, and Daniel finally looked at the officer. "You know who you're messing with?" The officer didn't blink. "Now you can say that at the station." Daniel gave a half smile and whispered, "You won't hold me," and something awful hit me. Not fear, certainty, because he truly believed it. They started walking Daniel outside. He passed close to me, too close. And before he crossed the front door, he leaned toward me and whispered, low enough that only I could hear, "You thought you were the main character, but you're just another one." I froze. The female officer squeezed my shoulder. "Don't look at him. Breathe." And I breathed. But when Daniel stepped through the doorway, he looked back, and he smiled, not at me, at the closet, like he was saying goodbye to something that still belonged to him. That smile said everything without words. I still have copies. I still have backups. I still have control. The male officer closed the door and turned to me. "You're safe now. We're securing the scene." But I didn't feel safe, because the real fear wasn't Daniel standing in my hallway. The real fear was what he had been hiding, how long he'd been doing it, and how many times he didn't get caught. The female officer picked up the envelope with the key and receipt. "You said this was left for you, and it said evidence." I nodded. She checked the receipt, storage unit, across the city. The male officer narrowed his eyes, "And it's under a different name, Daniel Cross." He looked at me again. "Are you sure you want to go there tonight?" I thought about everything. The photo wall with my face on it, the hidden camera behind the closet, the folder that said, "You shouldn't have looked." And I answered without hesitation, "I need to know." The officer exhaled. "All right, you're coming with us." But in another vehicle, on the drive there, my mind wouldn't stop replaying one thing. Daniel didn't panic when he got arrested. He looked satisfied, as if the arrest was just a chapter, and the real ending was waiting somewhere else. The place was old, cold. It smelled like rust, dust, and silence. Cameras above, metal gates, an endless hallway full of identical doors. The storage manager appeared, confused when he saw the police. Good evening, what's going on?" The officer showed his badge. "We need Unit 117, now." The manager swallowed. "Do you have a warrant?" the officer said calmly. "The property owner is here with a key and evidence of a crime." The manager looked at me. "Okay, but I'm not responsible for what you find." He unlocked it, turned the padlock, click. The metal door slid open slowly, and the air that came out wasn't air. It smelled like plastic, disinfectant, and something stored for too long. The officer turned on his flashlight, and I saw, first, boxes, so many boxes, then suitcases, and then a full shelf of folders, files, dossiers, each one labeled with a name, and my blood turned to ice because among those names, I saw mine, Ava Hart. I stepped back. The officer grabbed my arm. "Don't touch anything." The male officer started filming, taking pictures, and the flashlight dropped to the floor, and that's when it got worse. In the far corner, near the suitcases, something large was wrapped in black tarp, long, heavy. The officer froze, his voice changed. "Oh my God," I whispered, "what is that?" He lifted the tarp just a little, and I saw hair. My body went completely numb. The female officer shoved me back. "Ava, out. Now." But before I could turn, I saw something small attached to the tarp, a metal keychain, and inside it a tiny laminated photo of a woman. Under it, one word, property. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Because this wasn't just a secret room. This was a warehouse of lives, of victims, of proof. Daniel Cross wasn't a strange husband. He was a criminal, and I didn't marry him by accident. I had been chosen. The mail officer found another folder. This one didn't have a woman's name. It, one word, heart. He opened it, and it was a full investigation on me. My job, my bank, my old address, my health history, my routine, even my habits. Coffee, grocery store, gym schedule. Then I saw the worst page of all, a printed sheet with a title, target value, and underneath, a sentence that made my stomach flip: inherit her assets. Clean transfer, no noise, I couldn't breathe. The female officer looked at me with real care in her eyes. "Ava, he married you because you had something," I stammered. I'm not rich," the male officer answered coldly. "But you're stable, clean credit, good reputation, and you work with trails and documentation." He paused. "You were perfect." I whispered, "So I was useful." The female officer nodded slowly. "You were a bridge." That word stayed in my throat. A bridge to what? Fraud, money laundering, inheritance, control, disappearing me, and suddenly I understood the power of attorney papers. He didn't just want to control me. He wanted to own me on paper, before erasing me in real life. While the police cataloged everything, the storage manager came back, trembling. "There's one more thing," he pointed to a small box sitting apart from the rest. "That one arrived yesterday. He brought it himself." The officer opened it. Inside was a USB drive and a folded note. The officer opened it, read it. His face went serious. "This is for you." He handed it to me, and I read it. One sentence: "If she finds it, she's next." My hands shook. I looked at the officer. "I'm the next one." The female officer squeezed my shoulder. "No," she said it like a promise. "You're the survivor." And in that moment I finally understood something. I didn't survive because I was strong. I survived because I looked, because I searched, because I didn't ignore what felt wrong, and because by pure luck, the police arrived before he could finish. The case exploded. Police found other units, other properties, other files, and Daniel Cross wasn't even the worst name involved. He was just the clean face of something bigger. He tried to deny it all, tried to make me sound unstable, tried to claim the closet was renovation work. But when they laid the evidence on the table, the photo wall with my face, the hidden camera, the target value file, forged documents and power of attorney, the storage unit labeled property, the key delivered as evidence, he had nothing left, and for the first time, I saw real fear on his face. Not fear of me, fear of one thing only: proof. In court, he tried to look at me again, that stare that said, "I still have power." But this time, I didn't look away. I only thought, "You don't know what I know now," and that was enough. He was convicted, and I'll never forget the last thing he tried to say to me: "Ava, I could have been good for you." I stared at him and said calmly, "You weren't my husband. You were my warning," and I walked away. No screaming, no scene, no drama, because the best part about surviving is leaving like you were never weak. I learned something no one ever taught me. The worst kind of betrayal isn't when someone lies to you. It's when someone chooses you, studies you, fits you into a plan, and smiles in your face while turning you into a target. But I didn't become a statistic. I became proof. And what saved my life wasn't strength. It was one silent decision: to look, because when you look, you find, and when you find, you have something they can't destroy: evidence. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to The Final Evidence, because every lie leaves proof.